hope that your week is going great. And of course, we have a lot of events going on, a lot of events coming up. So I hope that you'll grab a bulletin, look through that, and pay attention to all of that, because a lot of details within those events that you need to be aware of. My friends showed up today, old friends. They're not old. We've been friends for a while. Michael and Carissa, we've been friends since, I don't even remember where we first met. Probably Louisville, Church of Christ, at some point. And then we've gone to camp together over the years. We've done trips together over the years. And I asked Carissa, I was like, when's the last time I saw y'all? When was that retreat? 4 or 5 years ago? That's insane. And they just show up. But love them very much. If you see them, walk by them, say hi to them. Great, great people. Glad they're here today. All right, we're in Philippians chapter 2. Crack open your Bibles there. And I'm just going to put the verses on the screen there, and we're going to walk through these verses very simply today. Nothing deep. I'm not going to take you down any rabbit holes or show you any, the structure of the Greek or anything like that. Very simple today, very straightforward. I'm going to ask you some questions here. To start out, somebody read this for us, verses 14 through 16. Okay, so like a good Hebrew, like a good Hebrew, stay firm and stay. Yeah, no. Like a good Hebrew, he's using phrases, and granted, he's writing to a Gentile church, but he's using phrases that tie into other events throughout Israelite history that kind of pique attention. Now, we've seen this happen with almost every text we examine. And Paul, of course, likes to do this kind of thing, but he's doing it once again. Whether they pick up on it, the church in Philippi or not, I don't know. But it's interesting to note when you look through this verse, kind of the hints that he's getting at. This phrase like grumbling or arguing, grumbling and complaining, in any Israelite's mind, where do you think their mind, what story is their mind going to go to where there was this immense amount of grumbling and complaining in the midst of the Israelite nation? Anybody? The desert. That's right. Exodus. It's this idea of God is providing them with everything they need. They have manna from heaven. They just received their freedom from slavery. And what are they doing? They're grumbling and complaining. It's this phrase, grumbling and complaining. And so Paul is calling these New Testament Christians, this church that has been bought by Christ, to not be like that, to not grumble and complain. And so he's pulling us back. If we're familiar with the story, he's pulling us back to that mindset. That's Israel. Guess what you are? You're the new Israel, right? You don't grumble and complain, so that you may become blameless and pure. Now, this is a phrase that has to do with holiness. It has to do with sanctification. It has to do with being set apart. You're pure. You're clean. You are blameless. Now, can you do this by your own power? You should know the answer to this question. Absolutely not. You absolutely can't. And so Paul he's exhorting them, he's calling them to a command that they can't do by their own power. Remember what he's already talked about? He's already talked about the work that God will bring complete in you, the work that God is doing in you. And now he's calling them to not grumble and complain so that they may be blameless and pure. In Jude chapter 1, verse 24, there's only one chapter in Jude. So Jude, verse 24, Jude talks about how to him who is able to accomplish this in you. Nancy, yes?
I'm sorry, is Forrest not here?
No, my kids have the stomach bug. But thank you for checking, because you thought I lost my kid, didn't you? You thought you lost him. Nancy, he was here. Where is he? You know you got good Bible class teachers when they come check and ask if specific kids are here. Yes, that's good. That's comforting to know. Yeah. Nancy even texted me yesterday. She's like, make sure, she knows Amanda was gone this weekend, so she's just checking in on me. She's like, make sure Forrest practices his Bible verse. I'm like, I'm a decent dad. Don't, like, yeah. And she even made dinner for us, which I really appreciate. It's like, I can handle much of it. No. So this idea of God is the only one, to him who is able to make you this way. Him, being God, Jesus, through God, is able to make you this way. Children of God, the big time phrase there, like we are the children of God. He is our Father. Jesus teaches that in his prayer. Children of God without fault in a warped and crooked generation. In Deuteronomy chapter 32, what nation is called warped and crooked? Anybody want to take a guess? Israel. You're warped and crooked. They're being called out as a warped and crooked, twisted generation. They're walking away from God. They're stepping away from God. And so Paul's making these connections once again. Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky. In Matthew chapter 5, Jesus said, we are the what of the world? The light of the world. The light of the world. So you see kind of how Paul is connecting all of this. He's saying, Israel acted this way. You're the new Israel. You're the light of the world. They were complainers, arguers. They were warped and crooked in so many different ways. And you are too, but you've been made new in Christ. You're the new Israel. You're a new creation. You are the light of the world. Now you shine like stars in the sky as you hold firmly to the word of life. And then I will be able to boast on the day of Christ. In 1 Corinthians 1, Paul talks to the church in Corinth, and he says that he, God, he will sustain you to the end, guiltless until the day of Christ. Isn't that a fascinating thought? That God is the one that his power, through his power, you can do this. You can accomplish this. Through his power, he will sustain you guiltless until the day of Christ, until the day Christ returns. It's simply a submission to his power. It's a submission to his will. It's a submission to rest and rely upon him, not your own power. And he's already called us to have this mind, which is in Christ, the humility, a mind of humility, that I did not run or labor in vain. So doing all of this so that everything that you do is not in vain. So let's think about this, and let me ask you some questions and get you talking. He says, everything you do it without grumbling and complaining. How many of you, now think about your day-to-day conversations, and even the ways that you talk to other people. How many of you default to complaining? All right, Bill raised his hand first. You default to complaining. How many of you are so pessimistic, it's like, it even bothers you how pessimistic you are at times. Like you default to grumbling and complaining. Even Amanda got home this weekend. She went hiking with Adria in the Grand Canyon. They did rim to rim. Big time trip, been planning for it for a while. Can I complain and grumble for a second? Just to give you an example of how we complain and grumble. Yeah. Okay, so she got up Friday morning at 4 a.m. They were leaving to Little Rock to get on their flight. She lets the dog out. At 5 a.m., Benny runs straight to a skunk, gets sprayed by a skunk. I get up. She's like, Benny got sprayed by a skunk. I got to leave. I'm like, don't let that dog in the house, you know. And I wake up grumbling. Don't let that dirty, nasty dog in the house. I pin him in on the back porch, and she's like, you'll have to give him a bath. I'm like, I'm not giving him a bath at 5 a.m. I'm exhausted, you know. I go back to bed, leave the dog outside, and get up the next morning. That dog can stay outside all day for all I care. I'm getting kids' lunches ready. They're running late. They're tired. You know, they're cranky. And this is usually a two-person job, but that day it was a one-person job. I get Evie to school by 5:30 because she had to run track that morning. She runs very early some days. I come back, the whole house smells like a skunk. Like, even though he hadn't been in, I just walk in, I'm like going back to bed for 30 minutes until I got to get up and get these other two stinkers, fix lunches, get them going. And the boys are not morning people. Ever is me. He wakes up just a bear, hair all messed up. Get them to school. They were a little late that morning. That's fine. Friday, I come up here, get some work done, go back home, wash the dog. Then I come back here smelling like a skunk. Got to put the dog in the house, lock him in a closet for a couple hours until I can get back to the house. What else happened this weekend? So let me tell you what else happened this weekend. Friday night, I got both boys in the bed with me. Forrest wakes up about 11, and he's half asleep, but he's projectile vomiting on everything. Sorry if you have a weak stomach. I say a quick prayer. Lord, help me to be patient. And this is nothing compared to what some of you have gone through recently, I know, but I'm just giving you an example of complaining. He threw up till 3 a.m. in various places in the house. We'll get up the next morning at 7. I was like, I got to start laundry. I got to start cleaning this house. Evie starts throwing up. I was like, here we go. Here's the roller coaster ride that I wanted this weekend. I did 9 loads of laundry yesterday. I washed every towel and piece of bedding in our house. What is today? Sunday. We're at church. It's Sunday. Amanda gets home late last night, and she calls, and I missed my wife for various reasons, obviously, but I missed my wife because I love my wife and I like being with my wife. You know the first thing I did? Complained. This stupid skunk dog, you left me here, kids throwing up on everything, and I got off the phone and I thought, my goodness, she hated talking to me just then. And she told me when she got home, she's like, I was so stressed. I was trying to find a flight to get home quick. I was stressed from this time to this time because last I heard, you were over here covered in vomit and skunk sauce or whatever, And I thought, my goodness, I'm doing exactly what I'm going to talk about tomorrow morning. And Paul is exhorting me to do everything without complaining or grumbling. Where is Paul when he writes this letter? In prison. What do you find yourself grumbling and complaining about? Let me know. What do you find yourself grumbling and complaining about? Do you default to, everything's wrong? Let me tell you, everything's wrong. Why do we not default to the good things? Why do we default to the bad things? What do you find yourself grumbling and complaining about? Let me know. How horrible your football team is, Lonnie. Hey, OU's doing good. I cannot complain about that right now. If you're an Arkansas fan, I'm sorry. Yes. Where are we at? Yeah.
So, it seems like the grumble and complain
Yeah.
is easy conversation.
All right, CR. Why? Right.
And it's just like they're complaining about the boss and they're doing this, and it's just easy to all run in there with, it just makes for easy conversation. And then there are times I leave and I'm like, but it's brutal,
Right, like it's just constant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like that's the everyday conversation around what I do.
So what are some of the things that are complained about? Work?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Conditions that they work.
The conditions you're in?
Boss, how he doesn't, he ignores what they do.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, like at this dumb job, I got to work in these conditions. All right, yeah. Bridget? feel like we deserve better.
all the time, with everything.
Okay.
We can never, nothing ever pleases us. We're always wanting more.
Why do we complain about those things? Why do we complain? Why do we think we deserve better? Like, that's the reason that we complain. We think we deserve better. Why? And we're going to get to the heart of some of this, okay? Okay? Selfishness. All right?
I was going to say, I complain a lot about things I have no control over.
Right.
I watch TV and you see the news, and, you know, I can just stay real hyped up about what goes on in Washington, D.C.
Right. You have absolutely no sway on it.
And I complain, and I talk to Brittany about it, and she just gets anxious, and you
Yeah.
know, I have to get off my soapbox about that. But
Right.
that can get me riled up.
Okay, so we can complain and argue about big things, which we have no control over whatsoever. Yeah, we have a vote. You're in Arkansas. Does your vote count? Well, maybe. You know, just like in Oklahoma, like if you're not a Republican, your vote doesn't count. But you know, you have a sway, but not really. And we complain about big things that are way out of our control. Bill, you raised your hand like fast, man. What are some things you complain about?
I mean, it's a daily thing, being on the road, complaining about driving conditions, road, people, drivers,
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, like, you're on the road, you know, railway, electrical, it's one of those, I don't know.
Yeah, just that. Yeah, that your environment, your work schedule, you're gone for long periods of time. It's just that burdensome. Yeah, I get it. Justin.
Everybody's heard the saying, misery loves company.
Yeah.
And I think human nature is naturally selfish. You know, I think I've mentioned that before, but nobody wants to say, man, Boo's got it great. He doesn't have, you know, he's got it easy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's when you go to somebody, misery or complaint or hardship is a common ground that you know everybody goes through.
Mm.
So I feel like if I come to you and say, I've had it so great, you're gonna be like, humble much, you know?
Right.
But if I come to you and I say, man, what a weekend, it's been busy, and
Mhm.
this and that, that's a common ground that I think is kind of that third Midland where I can come to you and I know that it's not gonna be perceived as bragging or,
Mm.
but it's something I can speak with any and everybody about probably and not come across as boasting, which is an issue in itself.
Right. So it's almost like a competition, an underlying competition. I can't tell you about how blessed I am because then it's like, if you were to come up to me, Justin, like, man, my kids are healthy. Well, they are healthy now. They weren't, but kids are healthy. I'm healthy. Got everything we need. Man, life is great. I'd be like, all right, jerk. You know, like I'm not talking to Boo this morning. Like I just come to vent a little bit, and Boo's all on his high horse. You know, do you feel that way? I mean, I'm not asking if you feel that way. Do we in general feel that way?
I think sometimes.
Yeah.
I think naturally sometimes people are, you know, or if I did come to you and say, man, I've got it so great, you know, it's, this is great, that's great. Sometimes if I haven't had, you know, or if you haven't had such a weekend, you know, if I told you that after the weekend you had, you know, probably you're gonna look at me and say, well, my tail's been polar opposites. You know, that's not the weekend I had. Everything's kind of rough for me. And like I said, it can be perceived as, we want to come across as, I had a hard time this weekend, but I came through the other side.
Right. So it's not that we shouldn't share burdens,
Right.
not that we shouldn't bear each other's burdens. That's obviously a godly, scriptural thing to do. Remember, this is about a mindset. Have that mind in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. And everybody's talking about selfishness. we feel like we deserve more. Did Christ deserve more? Well, absolutely. He deserves everything. Everything was created through him, for him. Yet he had this mind of consider others more valuable than yourself. This absolutely humble mindset of how can I build you up and encourage you? You know, this mindset of, yeah, man, it was a rough weekend. My kids were sick and, you know, skunks and all that. But I tried to readjust my mindset once Amanda got home. I was like, I'm so glad you're home. Like, I just missed you. I was like, I'm giddy that you're home. I told her that. I didn't want to keep being in a mindset because I could have been very, very easily. But I had these scriptures on my mind, thank goodness, and they helped shape my mind a little bit. Wayne, Sherry, you're both raising your hands. Yeah. Go ahead. The weather. Mm-hmm. Aches and pains. She's finally welcome at the grown-up table. Yeah. 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 All right. Just getting older, aches, pains, physical issues, ailments, all those things, because they consume our mind a lot of times, and so they consume our talk as well. Wayne?
Probably all thought about ourselves, started. And my mind went back. I had a friend in high school. His name was Gary. But he complained all the time in high school. And his nickname, which he was proud of, became Whiner. And
Whiner.
he's called Whiner to today.
That's
That's his handle.
his handle. Yeah.
But and he's proud of it. So, I mean, he can get nicknames.
Right. I'd be interested to see if his parents were whiners, you know. Typically, don't your kids, you see your kids reflecting what you do often? I see that, for sure. So let me keep going here because I want to get these other questions to you because we need to bring this full circle, not just focus on what we complain on. That's kind of where we would rest, I think, if I let us. But do you believe you have everything you need? Think about it. Do you believe you have everything you need? What are you pursuing in the belief that once you get this or that thing, then there will be peace and rest and joy? Do you think you have everything you need? Is there something you're pursuing that once you get that thing, then you will have peace and rest and joy? Does Paul have everything he needs? He says this much, and he even thanks the Philippians for providing him with the things that he needs. I mean, he's so gracious towards them and loves this body of believers and calls them out. Like, think about it. In the midst of our complaining and grumbling, and I'm not saying we shouldn't or we can't, but is this a constant for you? Are you whiner, you know? Is this what you're known for? Do you and rest and joy? That's false. I don't mean that mean. That's Paul literally talks about that. Like, Justin.
I knew somebody, or know somebody that spoke for years and years that it was, well, when I retire, it'll be totally different. I've got all these things that I want to do.
Right.
But right now I don't have time. So when I retire, it'll be different. Then it went from that to, well, when I get some of these illnesses, when I get some of this medical stuff ironed out, it'll be different. Although there was, 2, 3, 4 years of gap in between that
Right.
nothing changed. Now, I think it's real easy to try to redirect and shove that blame, and I think we all do at some point on different scales, big or small. But we're talking, most of we live right now in 700 square feet. With me and her and the girls. We all, but it was mentioned this morning,
have what you need in 700 square feet?
I think we have it, and it's,
You have each other,
we got 2 storage buildings that are full of stuff.
right? You don't need it. Just burn it. I'll come help you burn it. I love a good fire. Yeah.
Because we've had this exact same discussion this week. We don't need any of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's not, some of it's not. You know,
So how many moments do we miss, Justin? And I'm glad you're paying attention to life and paying attention to the moments of your kids in your lap, your wife next to you, the people you love, even if you don't have kids and a spouse, moments where you're surrounded. How many years of moments do we miss because our mind is longing for something else? That's what the sermon's about this morning. But we miss these moments because we complain and grumble about where we're not or what we don't have. And you may be in the midst of a prison in some metaphorical way, but do you have what you need? And do you think, are you longing for something that will bring you rest and peace and joy, yet God is trying to open your eyes to the rest and peace and joy you have in this moment? Because honestly, you know this moment is all that you have. It's literally all that you have. So don't pass the moment by, and don't grumble and complain about it. And we're going to get to the reason here in just a second. Have there been or are there currently ways in which you feel God has shorted you? Have there been or are you currently in a situation in which you feel God has shorted you, not given you what you deserve? That's a hard one. You don't have to answer that one. Just think about it. And then I would have a follow-up question for you to ponder. Why do you feel God has shorted you? Yeah, Ashley.
I'm not going to answer your last question, but I'll back up. I think we are dreamers, and God inherently put that in our DNA. So we like to think of things in this picturesque scenario, like this is how things should be in my life. We almost set the bar too high. So when reality doesn't live up to this dream that we have, we're disappointed. You know, whatever that looks like throughout our lives, that dream changes, that looks different. But when we take a step back and, you know, not necessarily lower our standards, but have a more realistic view of life and things that happen, these bad things are going to happen, or, you know, everything's not going to end up this perfect, great way that wasn't the weekend you imagined, you know.
Right.
But that was life. That's the way that it happened. And there's a level of contentment that we have to have within that moment, you know, saying, hey, we've got everything we need.
Right.
Yeah, I would love to have all these other boxes checked for this awesome weekend, take the kids out and do all this stuff. You know,
Right.
we're all growing up, so that's what we're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think when reality doesn't live up to that dream or that picture that we have in our head, we're disappointed, which gives us something to
Right. Right.
If Jordan wouldn't have lowered her standards to begin with, you know, I wouldn't have ended up.
Right. You're sitting next to Jordan because she lowered the bar.
Yeah, she's
Right.
lowered the bar on me.
So we can all be thankful. Yes. Yeah. Same with Amanda, and everybody tells me that all the time too. Thanks. Yeah, and it's that moment. Even this weekend, kind of like Justin, there was a moment, and the day before, I told the kids because they had no plans, and they always have plans. We've always got to take them somewhere: birthday party, sports, something. Saturday, I'm like, guys, we have nothing to do tomorrow. It's the first day in forever that we've had nothing to do, and then that happens. But then there was that moment of man, we're all kind of hanging out. Once everybody felt better, we're chill. I've got laundry going, and this moment, we're cool. Forrest was laying in the sun on the floor in his underwear where the sun shines through the door because he had a fever, you know, and he fell asleep in the sun. It's like, you're the weirdest kid, but I love him. Sorry, who raised their hand? Jerry?
I think complaining is a lot perspective. I remember the line from the English poet Cowper, who said, two men looked through prison bars. One saw mud, the other stars.
That's
And then
beautiful.
Also the frequent thing we hear. Now, I complained I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet.
Right. perspective. I love that, and that ties into having the mind of Christ and ties into that humility and that perspective. There's a book titled Drops Like Stars, and at the end of it, it talks about, the rain is falling. He's complaining about the rain, and then one of the kids goes, "Dad, look, stars, stars." He's like, "Stars? Like it's pouring down rain." And he said the kid was sideways watching the rain hit the ground and it'd bounce up off the light. And he's like, "Look at all the beautiful stars," a different perspective similar to that poem. Bill? Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it's changing your perspective and allowing the Spirit to transform your mind into the mind of Christ. Christy, let me get you here in 1 second. Good, we got 5 minutes, and I want to kind of bring this home, and maybe your comment will play into this. It might. So what's the reason Paul is giving us not to be like this? What's the reason up here? You will what? You will shine like stars. So the whole illustration, dark room, light a candle. Everybody's attention is drawn to that candle. You're the light of the world. You will shine like stars, even in the midst of a warped and crooked generation. So when people default to grumbling and complaining, when that is kind of our default, in the midst of a generation that just complains and grumbles and woe is me, everything is wrong, what if you don't? What if you don't? What's going to happen? Well, Paul says as you hold firmly to the word of life. I love that phrasing, the word of life, like him who gives life, his word that produces the abundant life and transforms your mind into this mind that doesn't grumble and complain. Like it is life. That's where life resides, true life. Life does not reside in grumbling and complaining and downtrodden and woe is me. Life resides in thankfulness and generosity and humility and considering others more valuable than yourself. How can I encourage you when I approach you? Yeah, you may not want to know about my weekend, and I'll tell you about it, but I'm not going to grumble and complain. I'm going to have a good spirit about it. How can I encourage you in that moment? How can you do the same for other people? And when that happens, people perk up. Oh, there's something different. They're different. They're not a whiner. They're not a complainer. Why are they different? What is different about them? Christy?
When life has you, it's like you're in quicksand. The more you complain, the more the sand goes down.
Right.
And you just get sucked into it. And, I mean, everybody's been drugged through the mud at some point in time where they're like, oh my goodness, there's no light. There's no light. And the word is like somebody throws you a rope that you can just hang on to. Just a few words. Hey, how are you doing today? You look really good, or whatever. Just a few words. That might be enough to pull them out of the quicksand.
Right. And so, it's about perspective. And it's perspective of, think about this. Where in your life do you find yourself judging the present by the past, believing that things are always going to be the way that they have been? And so we can't live in the moment because we're always judging it by the past, and we're always worried or anxious, and we think just because it's always been bad, it's always going to be bad. And yet, again, we're missing the moment. You're missing the forest for the tree, or you're missing the trees for the forest, whichever one it is. You're missing the moment because you're looking either to the past or you're looking to the future. And Jesus teaches them in the Sermon on the Mount, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow has enough trouble of its own. Don't borrow worry from tomorrow. Live in this moment. Do you have all that you need? Do you have rest? Do you have peace? Do you have joy? Well, if you have Christ, you have those things. If you have Christ, you have all that you need, even in this moment. Don't borrow from another moment, past or future. This moment. Your girls, your wife, 700 square feet. This moment, right? Other thoughts? I'm done. We got 2 minutes. Yes, Carissa. Right. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? No. Right. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and over in Zambia, you see kids running around with sticks and hoops, and they just old hoops they found, and they run and they push the hoop in the stick, and this is their toys, and homemade kites. You see any homemade? Yeah, they build kites out of plastic bags. Yeah. 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 And it's just, they're so thankful for what they have and what they can make out of the trash they live in a lot of times. Yeah. If you can go to those places, it changes your perspective in a big way, for sure. Yes, ma'am.
That's it, I'll go back to a mindset of, like every morning, no matter what situation you wake up in, you have a choice.
Right.
And the other thing I would add to that, to help you make a better choice, is the more you have of the Word in you, the Spirit of Christ in you, that becomes your default.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Without a doubt. And that is, that's where Paul's pulling them. That's where all the New Testament writers pull us. Have the Word on your heart, on your mind, allow the Spirit to transform you. Yes. And, that's even what helped me this weekend. Having this Word on my mind, it helps. It 100% helps. And you're 100% right. You wake up in the morning, where's my mindset going to be today? You make a choice to either submit to God's will or to follow your own, whatever your desires are for your life. And you can follow those desires while submitting to Him. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Bridget. Yes. Yes. Right. Right. You can be a testament in and of itself. You can share the gospel just by being a positive person without ever doing anything else. You can start a conversation just by not being a complainer, a grumbler, and an arguer. All right. We love you all. Thanks for your comments. Go get a donut.